Kerry Boulton is Australia's most respected exit strategy advisor and CEO of the Exit Strategy Group. Welcome to this week's segment.
So how do you create competitive tension? How do you find other buyers? It's about...
Well, if you've been through the process similar to the one that I've described earlier, which is about thinking about who might buy your business, and you do market your business proactively out and you invite offers, you might be surprised at the number of offers that people who are actually
Because you might
interested.
be talking to 5 different people that aren't your competitors, but they're all competitors with each other.
Correct.
So now they're kind of wanting to perhaps, if they don't buy the business, their competitor will, and they'll get all of that benefit.
Correct. And so you create a mini auction, basically. You can do that. You can actually create it. You definitely need to have your broker involved in that. A third party must be involved in that whole negotiation process with you to make it so that you're at arm's length, because you'll become too emotionally involved. That always happens. It doesn't matter who you are.
A lot of people have either maybe perhaps sold their home before in the past, or they know their parents that maybe have, so they've been involved in it in some way. How, and you've been involved in real estate too, how's selling a business different to real estate in terms of negotiating multiple offers?
They are quite similar. The emotion that is there is incredible. It really is, because it's your business is your baby, just your home is your castle. So it is the emotion that's actually caught up, that's driving you, often clouds your thinking. And as I mentioned also earlier, you sometimes business owners can have inflated views, but hopefully we've got past that and we're at a realistic level. But it's just the emotion that you do get caught up in. The selling a business is very difficult in that it's your identity. You've been wrapped up in it, and all of a sudden, ultimately, when it is gone, there's almost like a grieving process that people go through. Notwithstanding, for some, it's thank goodness.
Yeah.
It's over. I'm past it. But for most who've been, started from scratch often and really built it, and it's been their lives, it's
There's
quite
that famous story of Richard Branson, right? Do you want to share that with people?
Yes, which is quite fascinating. In his days of growing, when he's had to sell his music, Virgin Music, to Sony, he needed the money desperately, and he talks about when he's walking down the street and he's got a cheque for $1 billion in his hands, and he's crying. He's literally crying. He's just he's sobbing, because it's something he grew from nothing, and even though he's got this cheque for $1 billion, which he really needed,
it was his identity. His
whole identity had just been sold off. So you find you might be out socially and someone says to you, "Oh, and what are you doing? What are you doing now? What are you doing with yourself?"
Nothing.
Correct. Now, one of the things when people do sell their businesses, and particularly when you do get a very big payday, one thing I would highly recommend is take some time to decompress. I think, and that's a really useful word, decompress, because you're so stressed. And sometimes it takes months to get over that. But then have something to do, have something else useful to do, because a life without purpose is no life. You have to have another purpose in your life. And that can be a whole range of different things. It can be, you might want to get involved in the community. I've been involved in our local community sports club for 20 years. So, those are things that you enjoy. You might want to do some volunteer work. You might want to put back into the community in different ways. You might actually want to go out and mentor and be an advisor for other people who are actually in their businesses. And one of the other strategies for selling your business is, in fact, to have a form of vendor finance, where you might bring in someone else who's going to buy the business, but you might mentor them in your own business. And this can be hard too, because you've been
So they're going to pay you over a period of time?
Correct.
Right.
Yes. So you could mentor the next person coming through.
So someone wants to buy the business, they're the right person, but they just don't have the money, and you're going to say you're going to pay me, let's just say it's $100,000 a year for the next 5 years, and I'll help you in that transition.
Yes. And
now, what's a management buyout as well? What's that concept, and how does that work?
Okay. Well, that in fact is what I did when I bought the freight business from May Nicholas, was a management buyout.
So this is where you, as the general manager, and you could actually get a couple of other staff members to either put up their money together or to raise some capital, and basically it's the staff or the management team, right?
Yeah.
Buying the business from the owner.
Put a syndicate together. It could include external investors as well, but basically the business is bought from within, so internally. And it may mean that you leave some money in the business. I got some vendor finance from Nicholas way back when. So you would leave some money in the business and then that gets paid back to you over time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, just before we close, and I love the fact, by the way, we talk about the emotional kind of side of things, about people having a purpose after they sell their business, or hopefully even before along the way. So it's not kind of like a big shock to the system. But the other thing I want to talk about, some people say that terms are more important than price. Now, obviously, we've been talking about how to sell for the best possible price.
If you don't have a copy of Kerry's new book, The Uncensored Truth About Exit Strategies, please visit freeexitstrategybook.com.au.